Hello and welcome back, Bottle Killers, to another episode of Real Bottle Killer TV. Once again, we're down in the kitchen, which can only mean one thing. We've got another exciting whiskey review here for you today. Now, we hope you'll grab yourself a glass, pour a dram, and join us as we try this whiskey. So, Michael, why don't you kick us off and we'll have a little chat with what we're going to be drinking today.
Yeah, so actually, LockLea is kind of an interesting one. I probably wasn't even on my radar until last week. This will be the second one I've tried within a week, but it's probably you that put it on my radar. One thing I do know is this came out last Thursday, which was Burns Night, 24th of January, 2024, and it sold out instantly. So there's obviously enough people who understand where this is coming from and why they should buy this, because it flew off the shelves. It's not even available, I don't think, anymore. Just we're recording this maybe 4 or 5 days later.
Yeah.
First things first, for a dummy like me, the one we tried the other day was called
Our Barley.
Our Barley.
Yeah.
I saw a Ralphie review recently that was called Plough Barley. It's kind of like the Port Charlottes. If it's like the Isla Barley, if it's the SC01, I kind of don't really understand it, what they're doing. If you put like a Port Charlotte 10 in front of me, I know exactly what it is. So this one is very easy for a dummy like me to understand. It's LockLea 5 years old, so it's 5 years old. That's what I need to know. In terms of, so I don't really know about what's going to be inside. I do know that there is a distillery which is, what we call doing things the right way. They're kind of trying to do everything, as much of the production with themselves, which is maybe why it's so popular. One thing I do love is I love a bottle from a previous life. I used to be in packaging, so I do love, this is like kind of from a branding point of view, what you see, what you touch of the whiskey. I kind of love this bottle. It's kind of the weird thing about it though is it's almost like a 35 cl bottle.
Yeah.
It's like a little grok or a little chode. Can you say chode on YouTube?
I think we just did.
Well, the little grok of a bottle, and I like it. It's kind of a little cute bottle. So yeah, packaging wise, I think they really look like they care. I like what it's saying about the brand, so I'm excited to try it.
Good stuff, Michael. Well, we'll be diving into it in a minute. Lots to unpack there. But let me just sort of talk to a few things that you touched upon. So you're very right. This was released on Burns Night. The reason for that is Lochlea is a farm distillery, and Robert Burns actually spent some of his formative years working on the farm, writing his poetry. So they've got a close connection to that, which is why we were trying the Our Barley, which is one of their core expressions. They do some other expressions as well. So they're a small operation. They started distilling, I think, officially in 2018. So 5 years ago, hence this is being released to really, recognize the progress that they've made. And they do a few additions that are based on the seasons of as they harvest the barley. So there's things like the ploughing edition, the sowing edition, and I can't remember which was the one that you said that you saw Ralphie reviewing, but I know that he spoke very highly of LockLea.
It was the plough.
Okay, the ploughing edition. Great. So I know he speaks very highly of them, which is always a good endorsement. We love Ralphie.com. And yeah, so they've gotten to 5 years. In that time, they've acquired a new distillery manager, which is a really experienced guy, John Campbell. Used to be at Lefroy. He's moved to Lochlea. It's obviously it's a lowland distillery, probably something that I didn't mention for anybody who doesn't know that. And I think they're doing some really exciting things. So they're trying to use the barley that they're growing on the farm, moving towards malted barley. They've experimented in the past. One of the limited editions that they do, I know, uses ex-peated casks, probably from Lefroy, given the connections that they'll have there. And I think that they're going to be experimenting with peated malt themselves as well in the future. So lots of exciting stuff. But the bottle that we've got today, we'll get to pour in. And we'll get to trying it. I think the reason why I was so keen to share this with the viewers is because, like you said, this literally sold out inside 24 hours, I'm pretty sure. Now, I've not actually seen many, if any, people tasting it, apart from the odd influencer that maybe got a sample. So, one of the things that we really want to do on Real Bottle Killer TV is get the bottles open, get drinking them. If there are anybody that's watching who has bought a bottle, maybe they're waiting for a special occasion, maybe they're not sure if they should even open it, hopefully not people looking to stick it on an auction site and make a little £10 profit or whatever it is, but But I think we just want to get
So-
drinking, get enjoying it.
So why has it become so popular? Why is it so anticipated? Is it because of the distillery manager is in such high esteem, or is it because they're doing it the right way, or just people are trying to play this game of like, we want to predict what the next best thing is? What do you think it is?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot of elements that go into it. With a limited release, it's the first age statement that they've done. They've also been around 5 years now, so they've had really 2 years of releasing whiskey, and they're starting to build up that credibility. So there will be a little bit of a buzz around them, a bit of anticipation. So I think an element of it is the smart marketing. People are always, I guess, going to have the fear of missing out, right? They want to be that person, just like us.
How do people even know they're there though? How did you know they were there? Because I didn't know until last week, until you put it on my radar.
Yeah, I think they're building up a bit of a presence, right? Certainly, this is very timely because we had Burns Night last week. We were drinking the R barley. The reason why I chose that for for Burns Night for our dinner was the connection that they've got with Robert Burns.
Okay.
I tried LockLea before. I thought it was nice. I'd never actually bought a bottle myself. But I think with this, it's to go back to the original question. You want to be, people like new things in whiskey. What I found through my whiskey journey is it's always about discovering. And also I think you've got that interesting dynamic, right, of the whiskey geeks. There's a lot that they will like about LockLea. Like you say, they're trying to do as much on site as possible. They're a small team. They've got great industry experience, leading the charge that they're doing. They're using like long fermentations. So sometimes with the newer distilleries, people may feel that they're overpriced for what you're getting, right? Let's not forget, you can in the supermarket get Bunnahabhain 12-year-old for what, 36, 40 pounds. I don't know what it costs. Like Lefroy 10-year-old, you can pick up like sometimes under 30 pounds. Glenfiddich 12-year-old, you're going to get that for like 35, 40 pounds as well. So there's a lot older whiskies. Granted, those are from distilleries that have been around for a hell of a long time, that have more financial backing, that have more casks in their kind of warehouses and more behind them. So LockLea, I think, really has to do things a little bit different to stand out, and that's exactly what they're doing. It says here, dare to be honest and fear no labour. So I think that's probably the mission statement and what they're attempting to do with the releases.
Well, let's give it a go. Just looking straight away. And one thing, if you're new to watching us, you won't notice, but people that have watched a couple of episodes, like I know my whiskey personality, for want of a better term, is kind of like more of a bourbon, oak cask guy more than a sherry guy. So this will be interesting because you can you can see instantly the sherry influence. So what I did look on Masters of Malt beforehand. So it's kind of like bourbon 2 years, sherried 3 years, but in different casks.
So there's 5 different casks in this whiskey. Obviously, they all come from the same distillery, so it's still a single malt. There's 2 first fill bourbon casks. They were actually some of the original casks that were filled and distilled when the distillery started production in August 2018. The rest of the whiskey will also be 5 years old as well, given when it was released. But you've got I believe it is a first fill Oloroso sherry in there, a double matured Oloroso sherry, and I think it's a double matured PX sherry cask. So there is actually, and that's another thing that I like. They say here, dare to be honest on the top of the bottle. I like the transparency. I like that they're telling us what's actually in the whiskey. So you've got the details here, just to fact check myself. First fill bourbon, first fill Oloroso, double matured Oloroso, double matured PX sherry. So not a first fill PX sherry, but a double matured PX sherry. And then just to go back, what I was talking about, they're doing longer fermentation. So the industry standard for fermentations tends to be somewhere between like 55 and maybe 70 hours. And for a young distillery, those longer fermentation periods can be really important in unlocking some of the flavors. So as the mash is fermenting, the yeast is doing its work. Actually, bacteria is being produced, and the yeast is kind of fighting the bacteria, and then eventually it's giving off esters, it's giving off acids, actually lactic acids, which lead to the esters and add more flavour to the whiskey. So for a 5-year-old, you're thinking, and we haven't tasted it yet actually, but I'll get some down me.
I've had a couple of sips, but just when you do that and kind of let it sit in the palate, this might be the first episode where we I skipped that point actually. I'm going to go to the what I was going to say about the packaging. I didn't see the box before we came onto the episode, but again we talked about the packaging, and that is beautiful. That's such a great little gift to get to somebody. I kind of really love what they've done with the lid there, and they've told you the different casks. I had a friend round mine the other day, and she's not really a whiskey drinker, but I showed her the Johnny Walker umami. And straight away, she looked at the packaging and was like, "Oh, what's this? It's so interesting." And so, packaging is so important especially for people who are maybe don't know exactly what it is that they like, exactly what they want. It can be a great thing. So, just how it's all packaged, if that was a gift for somebody, I think they'd be mighty happy with all of the elements and the process of opening that.
Great point, and it's definitely becoming part of the whiskey experience, right? Like when we went to Johnny Walker and we did the Johnny Walker tour, he talked about. They were one of the first people to actually put the logo diagonally on the bottle, because every other distillery or blender did it straight, and it made them stand out. Now you look at this, like, you know, it's small, it looks different, it's got these beautiful ridges on it.
The graph.
This one in particular, obviously special release, it comes with a bit of extra packaging. But it's like you asked about why is LockLea on the radar? They're doing things to make themselves stand out, and obviously, I think when you see something like this, it's a reflection in the bottle of the craft and the dedication that they put into producing the whiskey. Like, it's often to me says these guys care.
And I think fundamentally we love that stuff, right? We love when people care, when you can see there's heart and soul in a product. We care about it more. We like it more, and so it's great. And long may it continue. Well, tell me your first thoughts. I've actually had about 3 or 4 sips of this now. So you tell me what's the first impressions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really impressive for its age, right? And I go back to the point about the longer fermentations and locking more of those kind of fruity flavors, more of the kind of tropical flavors like coconut, for example. The thoughts that I got when I nosed it was like, it's very fruit forward in terms of like your red berries, that winey kind of flavor. It's definitely got the sweetness to it. And again, it's fresh. It's got cereal kind of notes, like toasted oats are coming through. The palate, I'd describe it as like lusciously thick. It's bold at 50%.
Yeah.
And we love, like, I'm talking not maybe a tasting note now, but a texture, like golden syrup. I love when a dram, like, you feel it in the mouth and it's rich, it's coating. It's almost like, it's got a real thickness to it.
Well, I always know when it's got a thickness is when my tongue is like rubbing the upper part of my mouth, the roof of your mouth, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to get in the extra flavors from doing that. It's almost like you don't plan to do it. It's just like a natural thing that you do when it has that thickness, when it has that viscosity. I think the word is. I may be wrong. That may be something else. But it's an absolute delight. And one thing I would say is, if you were to give me this in a taste test, I wouldn't be able to tell you that it was 5 years old, or think I would not I would not mark it less in my mind because I thought that it was a young whiskey. It's almost like the turbo that we had in Scotland. What is the brand name? I know it's Glenmorangie, but what is the brand name?
Michael Tor.
It's kind of very, very, very it's got the agelessness of that whiskey.
It's really impressive, and I think when things are done the right way, it goes to show that you can produce a young whiskey that is very high in quality, and this ticks all of the boxes for me.
Like we always say, add water, never be too macho that you want to drink it without. I don't actually think I'm going to add any water to that, which for a sherry whiskey, that might be a first for me. It doesn't need it. I'm really loving the thickness and how that's coating my tongue as it comes in. And also I'm actually getting a lot of the what you'd associate with a bourbon cask on it as well. So I'm getting on the underneath the like almost like the top of the whiskey is where I'm getting the dried fruits. I'm getting the sherry notes, and underneath that's where I'm getting like more of the vanilla-y, woody notes.
Definitely getting a lot of vanilla coming through. I think those kind of
It lasts the vanilla, doesn't it?
yeah, confectionery flavors. So like old sweet shops, you know, those kinds of penny sweets that you used to get. It really reminds me of that. I get some pear coming through in the palate, and then into the finish. It's quite a long finish, you know, for a 5-year-old, and then the spices start coming through.
Do you know what it's like? It's kind of like, it's like, you know, when you go to the chip shop and you have like a curry, fried rice and chips, and you don't want to move on to the dessert too quickly because you want to keep that flavor in your mouth.
Yeah.
You don't want to go from like savory to sweet because you're enjoying that flavor so much in your mouth. It's almost like that. It's almost like you kind of like it lingers there, and it's just still there, and you're just still there enjoying it.
Yeah, I like it. Vanillas, confectionery, sweet orchard fruits, and lingering spices.
Just lingering flavor. It's just there. Yeah, very, very, very good.
So I think it's safe to say that we've been impressed by what we've tried from LockLea so far. I definitely rate this as a triumph. Now, the only thing that I think we've not touched upon today is the price. Now, one of the things that I'll say on this topic is that I understand, like, this is a small team, right? I think the distillery team is 20 people. They've been around for 5 years. Naturally, it's an exclusive bottle, right? So naturally, it seems pricey for a 5-year-old whiskey, but they've got, you know, they've got overheads to meet. Like there's a lot of obviously investment that goes into running a whiskey distillery.
So what was it, 89.99?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, 90 quid, say. Now there are whiskies, older whiskies certainly from perhaps more established distilleries that you can get in that price range. Arguably, yeah, of course you can get a better bottle of whiskey for £90. However, I think it's sufficiently impressive to justify its price tag as an exclusive release. You know, it's a piece of history that you're drinking. You're drinking in this mix here 2 of the casks that were filled in the first week that this was distilled. So I kind of take it as like I'm paying to be part of drinking, you know, all the efforts and the care, the attention, the patience that went into producing this single malt. So for me, no questions.
Well, it's kind of interesting because, like I said, I didn't really know about this thing. It only came on my radar sort of last week, and as it was coming on sale last Thursday, Jay said to me, "We should review this. Do you want to buy this?" And I said, £90. It's a bit much for something I don't even know. You went and bought it anyway because you wanted to do it, and thank God you did, because it's an absolute beauty. So if you want to, you do pay a little artisan tax, a little craftsmanship tax, but actually afterwards, it's going to be one in your collection, which is going to be an absolute delight to have in there. And it's kind of special because, you know, it's actually changing people's, it's challenging people's mindset on whiskey because it's only 5 years old, but it's so good, it's so smooth. And it feels like it's aged a lot more than it actually is in terms of the smoothness. So for the challenging nature of that it's given to people, I think it's well worth the £90 in hindsight.
So what are you saying, Michael? Is it a buy?
It's an absolute buy. LockLea is an absolute buy, and definitely one to watch.
For me, it's a buy. You know, in the last week, I've certainly become more excited about this distillery. Very impressed with this whiskey. If it's not available anymore, if you're not comfortable with the auction sites, there's plenty more that they offer. So the core range bottle is the Our Barley. Then you've got the other editions, as I say, the Ploughing edition, the Sowing edition. I forget the names of the other 2, but they're readily available, easy to find. I've shared the Our Barley with a few people. We had a Burns night dinner the other day. Everybody enjoyed it. I think it's a great place to start if you're going to start experimenting with Lochlea Distillery. For me, it's a buy. And yeah, I don't think there's much more to say other than, you know, it goes to show that young distilleries up and coming, doing things the right way, their whiskey can go toe-to-toe with the bigger boys. And actually, sometimes, you know, we hear a lot that the quality of some of the more established distilleries are declining in quality. So I think it's great for new distilleries to come through and challenge the status quo, or at least keep some of the big boys on their toes. Like, don't take us as whiskey drinkers for granted. You know, we love exploring, experimenting. We're going to find new things, and we love when new things come out. So
yeah, and if the statement that they come out with, or the tagline that they have is "Dare to be honest" and "Fear no labor," this is a labor of love. I mean, you're tasting that in the quality of it, and like you said, some of the that's kind of one of those things that people love to throw at Diageo, love to throw at Ardbeg. I see it a lot. Is that the quality is declining. It's not as good as it used to be, which I don't know if it's true or not. We still love the Johnny Walkers, we love the Ardbegs, but it's the maybe there's some truth to it, and I think this is a labor of love, which is yeah, it's an absolute delight.
good stuff. Just getting a lovely like Manuka honey note trickling down the back of the throat there. Again, more of the berries, spices in that finish. Really impressed. So, as I say, hope for some of the viewers, if you did pick up a bottle of this, if you're, sort of questioning whether you should look on the auctions to get one, hopefully some does become available and you get the opportunity to try it. But certainly our experience of this whiskey is it's fantastic. If you've got a bottle, open it whenever you're ready. If you're on the fence, I'd say, go out there, grab yourself one, try and find it, try and try it, because it's great whiskey.
Yeah, it's a buy. It's LockLea, one to watch. Yeah, take him out.
So, I hope everyone at home has had a good time. I've had a good time. Michael, have you had a good time?
I've had a good time.
I've had a great time. Okay, signing off. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Real Bottle Killer TV.